Welcome to the Fortunate Events podcast, where we explore how education, careers, and life experiences intersect in unexpected ways. I'm your host, Jessica Bennett. I'm a graduate student at UHCL going for digital media studies. And this podcast is all about the journeys that shape us, the opportunities that we never saw coming, and the moments that make all the difference. Today, I'm joined by my classmate and friend, Caitlyn, who's graduating this May. We've been on this journey together in the documentary film class at UHCL, and I'm excited to learn more about her college experience, what she's learned, and where she's headed next. Caitlyn, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Could you tell our listeners just a little bit about you? A 1-minute intro.
Yeah, so my name is Caitlyn. I started my college journey when I was 18. It's been a long, long road. But I'm finally here and I'm graduating. I'm majoring in communication. I have an idea of what I want to do with it, which we'll get into later on. But I'm more so focused and excited about finishing up my last semester here. And yeah.
Tell us what classes you're taking for your final semester.
So it's actually so cool because I feel like this is the last semester I'm here and I'm actually doing the stuff that I want to do and I've always loved doing. So I'm filming a lot more. When I come to school, it's not just to do homework and listen to lectures when I do attend class. It's more so filming, editing, talking in front of people, which I never knew that I would love talking in front of people, but I do, and performance things going on. So I'm taking storytelling and oral communication and documentary production this semester.
What is your most favorite class that you've taken during the course of your degree?
Probably this one. No. I lied. I can't say this one is my favorite because it does have its rough edges to it. I would say my favorite class is the other one that I'm taking this semester, which is storytelling and oral communication. Just because it's very interesting. It's acting, like the elements of acting. So you're learning your script and making aesthetic choices and sticking to those aesthetic choices to put on a performance. And I like that she puts us up there almost every week to talk in front of people just so we can get used to it. And if you're a person like me, like no matter what, I still get nervous going up to talk in front of people. So that's my favorite class because it pushes me.
I was telling you just before we hit record on this session that I get nervous pretty easily. I grew up singing, which doesn't work well when you have nerves. So I definitely fumbled several auditions. But I did end up getting over some of those nerves. But when I started this podcast last year, it was a lot of pressure on myself, and so I think I was the most nervous about this that I'd been in a long time, about projects or performing or speaking. It was this, and it's just like me and a guest in the room.
It's still a thing. I heard that the reason you get nervous is because you care so much, not about what people think, but because it's an art itself. And so it's a skill set. So yeah, you're still going to get nervous no matter what.
I definitely agree.
It is what it
but
is.
I still am not a big fan of public speaking, and that is something I do need to work on.
You're so good at it, though.
Oh, I remember, I think I actually took a public speaking class. There was a class for my undergrad now, like a long time ago, like 13, 14 years ago, whenever I graduated. It's been a long time. But I remember having to get up in front of a small group. There's probably like 20 or 30 students, and just getting so flustered and, losing my breath a little bit. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going through this. All these years later, I've been in classes and group settings and all these things, especially where I'm having to speak in front of people. But sometimes it catches you off guard.
It's like you always go in with the intention of like, don't get nervous. These people, you see them all the time. Every time you try to find a reason though to not get nervous, still get nervous.
I know I'm bad about it, but constantly working through it. Well, I feel like college is full of defining moments, some good, some bad. What's one of your best memories from being a student here at UHCL?
I wouldn't say I have Well, it's not that I don't have best memories. Obviously, like
Yeah.
it's a nice school. I love the fact that there's this whole nature thing going on. You can disconnect and find peace right before you go into a class where they're going to pick your brain. But I don't really have great memories. I would say I have one great professor, and I'm not saying it just because it's documentary, but he actually had a lot to do with where I am today.
Wait, what's his name? Let's give him a shout out.
Professor Brims. Shout out Professor Brims.
You know he's going to listen.
He's going to listen to this. But he did help me. It was 2 semesters ago. So I took video production, and the very last class, I think it was, or last week, something like that, we did a news package, and I was picked to be one of the speakers. I'm like, oh, great. Like, it's that thing. Like, I get nervous for nothing. It's a news package that's just going to be shared between you and your classmates, and that's it. Why are you nervous? But I remember going on there, and I looked a hot mess. First of all,
you weren't prepared that
I was
day.
not prepared that day to be on camera. And he was just giving me critiques like, you know, you got to sit up, you got to speak up, you know, we can't hear you. But he had a lot to do with that, because 5 months later, I would be doing sports reporting. So it's something that I didn't have experience with. So that experience itself and everything I learned with him, from being behind the camera to in front of the camera, very much played a big role in where I am today and what I love to do.
That's
the new thing that I
amazing.
love to do. So.
Shout out to Professor Brims.
Brims.
He's actually been one of my favorite professors as well, in addition to Dr. K and
Dr.
Anna Klaiva.
I can't pronounce her name.
So they're actually both they're part of my team for my final capstone graduate project. So Dr. K is my main, I guess, point, and Professor Brims is the second one. But this podcast is my final graduate project. So this semester I'm already a little bit behind, but I will be doing more research and putting together a literature review on how to monetize a podcast and kind of the business side of it, and strategy that goes into it. And then I'll be doing podcasts from now until the end of the year.
Nice.
By the time I graduate.
Nice.
So this is my second episode, but I have a list of like 20 plus guests that I want to bring on. And the point is to share, to share with the listeners just different backgrounds and different career paths, and people that I come into contact with through school or work, hear their story, and then hit on kind of what defines them. And I always like to hit on a fortunate event, which we'll get to at the end of this podcast. But yeah, it's been a really fun experience. I never really saw myself going into podcasting or anything like this.
Tell me about it. Speaking in general.
Yeah, but I do find, not that it's easy, but that I feel like it's kind of in my niche, I guess, especially like with the preparation. I do content management every day for work, for social media, for websites, things like that. So this is just another extension of content, that I'm preparing for each episode. And it's been fun doing them and getting ready for them and planning out who I'll be talking to next. I think my next guest will actually be my twin sister.
Wait, you have a twin sister?
I do, Jennifer. Shout out to Jen.
Oh, shout out Jen.
So I have a home podcast setup that I just purchased that will be doing my first episode at my new home office with her. So for anyone listening, stay tuned for that. We're going to get into some personal details about us growing up and some challenges that we've overcome. So it'll be a really fun, probably emotional episode.
I can't wait to see it. I did tell you that I was going to watch your podcast when I get home. So I'll be staying in tune for whenever yours and your twin sisters.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be good. But enough about me. Let's get back to you. You mentioned sports reporting. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Was that for a class or for an internship?
No, so it was for an internship, and it was completely unexpected. So obviously if you're an undergrad, you have to have an internship before you graduate. That's one of the requirements. So I was given out a list of different internships to attend. And one of them was a popular media group in Texas. And I was like, well, it's the closest thing to what I want to do after I graduate, which is like social media, kind of like you, content creating, anything artistic. That was the closest internship to pursuing something artistic after I graduate. So I'm like, I want to gain my experience there. I went in thinking that I was going to be like the typical intern, run and get coffee, edit this video, and one of the managers was like, "Hey, what do you want to do after college? Like, what's the reason behind you interning here?" And I'm like, "Well, I know I want to be on camera." He's like, "Would you like to do sports reporting for our first Friday game?" I'm like, "Yeah, like sure," with no experience. I didn't tell him that though. I didn't tell him that I had no experience. He's like, "Okay, we're going to do a run through with you Thursday. That way we can get you prepared for Friday."
Wow, that's super quick.
Yeah, super quick. I wasn't expecting it. And there we go Thursday, and him and then I guess the assistant manager, whatever you call, was in the room too. And they were both looking at me, analyzing me. And I thought I did terrible because, one, you have to know stuff about sports, which at the time I knew nothing about. So like,
I don't know much at all.
Yeah, like 8 months ago, I knew nothing about sports.
Yeah.
So they started off with giving me a script, which I'm familiar with because I have a background in acting too. So memorizing scripts is nothing for me. I can do that. But whenever you're like, talk, on key about sports, I'm giving you a scenario. What are you gonna say? And I'm like,
you have to like know facts.
You gotta be yourself.
Pull out trivia or something.
And so I thought I did completely terrible, but they thought otherwise. And so my first Friday game, I performed, or not performed, but I was on camera as a sideline reporter for the Galveston game.
Okay.
It was in Galveston.
Was it high school?
Ball High.
School?
Ball High, yeah. Ball High. I think they were going up against, I don't know who. I forgot what they were going up against, but it was at Ball High. That was my very first, sideline reporting game.
So that's something that you've mentioned that you want to do in the future. Do you see yourself doing that for like the local Houston teams, or what are your plans after you graduate?
I don't really have, you can make all the plans you want. Yeah. So I try not to.
So true.
I try not to make plans, but I have an idea of what I want to do and where I want to go. And it would be sports reporting. But like I said, you can make all these plans all you want, but it's never the way you expect. And I say that in a good way, where it's bigger and it's better. Mm-hmm. So I'm just excited about graduating. I think my whole life I've always thought ahead, like, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? And finally, I'm at this place where I'm like, I'm just trying to enjoy the moment, and whatever comes. I know God didn't bring me this far for no reason. Like, why would he have me as a sideline reporter to just be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like nothing.
Just stay on the sidelines.
Yeah, like, so I trust God, and I'm just excited to graduate, and we'll see what the next chapter holds.
Yeah, well, it's very exciting.
Yes.
Are you planning to go straight into the workforce, or are you gonna?
No, absolutely. I do want to go straight into the workforce. No breaks here. Yeah, I'm actually in the midst of doing that now. So next week I have an appointment with someone to discuss like work opportunities. So I do. Awesome. Yep. I'm planning to go straight into work after I graduate. No breaks here.
Very exciting. No. Well, I think you know a little bit about me, but I usually tell a little bit about my story on the podcast. I grew up in Lake City. I went to high school at Clear Creek High School and did pretty well in school. I was accepted early to Texas A&M, and I was going to be suite mates with my sister. So we wouldn't be roommates, but we'd be in the room right next to each other that shared a bathroom. So I had all my plans laid out, or I thought I did. And then like a month after I graduated high school, I found out I was pregnant with my son, Branson. So, and he just turned 19, by the way.
Wow.
Last week was his birthday, which is insane. Because that's how old I was whenever I actually had him. So, was supposed to go to A&M. That did not pan out. My parents wanted me to stay here locally so they could support, which makes a lot of sense. And so I started off at San Jack, and I was thinking about going into education. And then when I was switching here to come to UHCL, ended up changing my major to communication. So I have very much been a planner my whole life. And, I think it's always great to have goals and dreams. And that's definitely what's kept me motivated to pursue everything that I have done, on top of wanting to give my son the best life possible. But yeah, it just doesn't always work out like you think it will. But my educational journey has been very rewarding, and I actually landed my first job out of college from my internship that I took while I was in school. So I interned for a PR firm, which I had no idea like what I was getting into. But it was such a good internship. I ended up staying there, and they hired me on full time, and I was there for about 4 years. But it was just such a great learning experience, and I owe it all to UHCL. You know, I never would have found that internship if I hadn't been enrolled here. And then I don't think I'd probably be where I'm at now. I'm working for a marketing agency now, which is very similar to the PR firm, just a little bit different workload and different clientele, but still very similar. So even that job helped prepare me for my career now.
That gives me hope, because it's like, even though it's not what you expect, it's either something better or it's something similar, and that's anything in life. And plus, your son, you did mention off camera that he was about to attend college now, so it's like you get to be with your baby. It's a blessing. It's better than what you expected. It's
been full circle. For a while, his schooling was pretty challenging, just finding the right environment for him, but after a lot of research and consultation and lots of dollars, he found the perfect school for him. It was a one-on-one setting, so he had one teacher per subject. And with his ADHD, it was just what he needed. And he went from failing 9th and 10th grade just due to not being the right setting. It was the middle of COVID. He wasn't getting the right support, you know, nothing to do with his intellect. Like, he's literally a genius, but he went from failing to making all A's with a couple B's here and there. So he was able to bring up his GPA and graduated with a really, you know, above average GPA, which is exciting.
Look at that.
I know. So things, you know, I have a strong faith, and I think God has definitely brought us to where we are, brought us on the other side. For a while, I wasn't sure how he would finish high school, you know, but now he is. He graduated. He'll walk in May, and then he'll start in the summer. He's going to go to College of the Mainland, I think, to pursue engineering. So he'll start at a local community college, and then he wants to go to A&M in a couple of years after he has an associate's degree under his belt. So
lots of math. But he's like,
lots of math, and honestly, he's very good at it.
Yeah, that's your fruit, though. You know, like at first you were gonna go to A&M, and now
isn't that
like
crazy?
To see him live out that dream for you,
it really is
awesome.
Beautiful, especially because all of my family went to A&M, like literally mom, dad, brother, sister, like half of my aunts and uncles. So it was disappointing when I wasn't able to go, but I also wasn't gonna push that on him, even though I really wanted that for myself. You know, I never was like, you have to go to A&M, you know, this is just in your blood. Of course, everyone else was like, you know, A&M's the way to go. But he chose that school all on his own, because it is such a good school for engineering, and that's what he wants to do. Yeah. So it's funny because I have learned more about my family, you know, over the years that I hadn't known before. My grandfather, Papa, he passed away when I was 3, but I know it's sad, but so I don't really have too many memories of him. But as my son has started expressing more interest in math and science, we've been able to talk about my late grandfather more, because he was a math and science teacher. He was a brilliant man whose legacy has lived on. You know, our family still gets phone calls and emails and letters about how impactful my grandfather was as a teacher, and how he changed lives and made education to where they could understand. And I know that he'd be so proud of my son, especially with all the challenges that he's gone through. And especially even more because they have very similar interests, you know? So I think he's smiling down from heaven, because my son is like his little prodigy, probably.
He's like living through him, right?
Yes.
So you did mention that you were like disappointed because your whole family pretty much kind of went to A&M.
Yeah.
And you weren't. Was there like a moment of despair there and just confusion and you didn't know what to do? Like, can you explain
Yes.
that?
So, getting pregnant was a challenge, not expected at such a young age. And then it was also a challenge because I had people telling me what to do, different people telling me different things to do. So I think the hardest part of that time period wasn't that I didn't make it to A&M, even though now I still am sad about it. I don't think that will ever really fully go away. I think the biggest challenge from that time period was having to stand up for life and what I believed, that I was pregnant and given this child through my own actions, but not planned, but I knew I was meant to raise him. So I had some people telling me I needed to give him up for adoption, and I had some people telling me I needed to have an abortion. Some people very close to me, but I knew I was meant to raise him, and just to see him grow and thrive even through all the challenges over the last 19 years. I have so much joy watching him succeed, especially in things like that I wasn't able to do. I think it'll be so surreal when he does finally get to A&M and I'm walking the campus.
You're gonna bawl. You're gonna cry.
I'm already tearing up thinking about it, but like walking the campus, knowing that I would have been there all those decades ago, but
God had a better plan.
I'm
he
there
had
at a different
plan.
at a different time period. And I've actually, I reconnected with a girl that I knew from like junior high here at UHCL, and she's one of my very best friends now. So if we hadn't taken, I think it was biology or some kind of class that we both really didn't love, if we hadn't taken that class, we would never have reconnected, and she wouldn't be one of my very best friends. Her name's Ashley, and we're very close. And
shout out Ashley.
I know, and I love
Shout
her
out
and her babies. She has 2 girls, and they've kind of adopted me into being in their family. So they're like a second family to me, and that was something else that never would have happened if I hadn't gone to UHCL. So yes, I do still have sadness and woulda, coulda, shoulda. If I would have actually made it to A&M, but it's just
maybe the
worked out how
promise
it
was
needed
always A&M. Like the promise was always Texas A&M. It was just not the way that you expected it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe one day I'll be working their PR.
Right? That would be so cool.
Like you never know. So it's still very much a part of my family history, just not my personal one yet. You know? Well, and it is in a way, but not in the way that I thought, not as an actual student. So, so the podcast, of course, the focus is fortunate events. Can you think of a moment that started as a challenge or an obstacle and ended up becoming a fortunate event?
It actually ties into my degree and what I'm going to do after college, which is speaking.
Okay.
In general on camera. So when I was all the way up until I was 17, I loved dance. I didn't want to do anything else besides dance. I'm like, I'm going to go to school Mom, you want me to go to college? I'm going to go to school to be a dance teacher. I'm going to have my own studio. I'm going to be a backup dancer. Everything dance. She was just so tired of hearing it. And now looking back, I'm tired of hearing myself back then. But there was an audition that came up when I was 17. I was about to turn 18. Because it landed on the day of February 17th. My birthday is February 18th. So I was 17, and it was the day before the audition I was going to turn 18. So I ended up going, and I thought that it was a dance audition, but it wasn't. It was more than a dance audition.
What?
Yeah. So I show up, and this lady has a green piece of paper in her hand, and she's like, here you go, learn this in 5 minutes. And I look at it, and it's like a paragraph. I'm like, what the heck is this? So we go in, we sit down. It was at the Marriott. I'll never forget it. It was me and my mom, and she starts explaining more in depth of what this audition really is. So she's like, we make all of our money based off of the actors that get booked by different scouts. So everyone here, I don't care if you're a musician, if you're a dancer, if you're singer, songwriter, or whatever, everyone here needs to know how to act. So you're not just auditioning for your craft, like what you're known for or what you're good at, but you're also, we want to see how you take critique and correction when it comes to learning a monologue. That was what that green piece of paper was a monologue. And it was my turn to go up. I'm like, I learned this as best I can. I'm just going to do it. So at the time, I performed in front of the CEO at the time. By the way, the nonprofit organization is called AMTC, Actors, Models, and Talent for Christ. And I auditioned in front of the CEO, which was Waco Boyens at the time. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with him or not.
I'm not, but I will look him up after this.
He has a lot to do with human trafficking and supporting kids that get trafficked. Like he's a big humanitarian.
Okay.
And I ended up making it. That was like a thing that was like I didn't know was a fortunate event at the time, but it was, and it played a huge part into what I do now, because the whole time that I was there and I did get the audition, I was always acting. Like I never was dancing the way that I thought I was gonna dance. Like I thought, oh, I'm just gonna train and then we're gonna go on tour. No, that's not how this was at all. Majority of my time was learning how to walk on the runway, learning how to improv, being on camera, all the way up till July, which was whenever we performed in front of the talent agents and scouts. And they would scout us, and then from there, of course, we would book jobs, basically.
That's so fun. So have you been in some paid
I've been in one, because after that, I was like, I'm too young for this. Like, I have to go to school first. And my parents totally agreed with that. Yeah. So there wasn't much that I booked, but I did book one job.
Awesome.
Yeah, I did book one job. It was for the YouVersion Bible app.
Okay.
And they were celebrating 500 million downloads for the people that downloaded the app and were looking at the YouVersion Bible app. And I was in a dance there. It wasn't an acting gig, but it was a dance.
That's so cool. Yeah. That's something that you should be very proud of.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible.
And then I also got my first speaking role as an actress in a mental health short film.
Okay.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 years ago.
So do you see yourself doing more like individual projects like that? Or are you looking for something full-time career?
Yeah, that's
or
why.
Both?
That's why I said, because it's like I've gotten so many things that I felt like I didn't deserve, like many opportunities from dancing, acting, speaking. It's not just one thing. So I think that's where I kind of feel left out. It's like everybody else has this one thing, but me, it's like different things. So earlier we were talking about plans. It's part of the reason why, because it's like, honestly, when it came to that, to me booking that job with the YouVersion Bible app, I didn't even audition for that.
Oh.
One of the people that scouted me back then in 2017 emailed me and asked me if I wanted to be in it. Same thing kind of happened with the mental health short film. As you guys know, same thing happened with the sports reporting opportunity. Yeah. I didn't really audition. There wasn't a process behind it. There wasn't a plan. So that's why I'm like, I don't make any plans. I just know whatever's next is going to be great.
Yes. Yeah. I love that, though. I love that mindset, too.
But I see myself doing both. I see myself doing individual projects and also being on the sideline.
Yeah.
Sideline.
I love it. Well, this has been such a fun conversation. I would love to, learn more about you. For anyone who's listening who wants to connect with you, where can they go to follow you? Or is there a website or email or Instagram? Or
everything is at Caitlyn Pristine. Caitlyn Pristine on TikTok, Caitlyn Pristine on Instagram.
Any final words of advice or encouragement for students who are looking to start, an educational path for themselves?
Yeah, totally. I would say whenever you're going and embarking on this college journey, I heard from a pastor that I listen to all the time. I love him. His name is Miles Monroe. And he says that you can do good things, but it doesn't mean that they're effective. So you got to do the right things, because the right things are effective in your life.
Okay.
So like for me, I'll use me as an example, because it happened this morning. I'm still learning too. I'm not perfect. But I woke up and I'm like, I know what's right. I know what I need to do. I need to get dressed. I need to prepare, because you were sending me an outline as far as this podcast went. So I'm like, I need to go over that. But I want to do self-care. I want to journal, and that's good too. But is it effective? No. So I would say whenever you're embarking on this journey, be open to receiving feedback from your professors, be open to different things, and everything that happened before you came into college, that goes out the window. I'm not saying you can't use that as your experience, but whenever you come in, you have to come in with open eyes and open ears and be willing to learn. Don't just walk in and be like, I know it all. You know, that's what I mean by not like taking everything that you learned from your past and bringing it forward.
Yeah, kind of an open slate.
Yeah.
I've learned so much here, and I love that we're able to apply what we learned to the real world too. So I can't say enough things. So if you're looking to get into communication or marketing or advertising and don't know where to start, I would recommend enrolling at UHCL or a local college near you. So, well, thank you again for joining me today. It's been a great conversation. I hope our listeners have had fun listening along and learned a couple things. I mentioned my sister will likely be my next guest. So if you want some twin tea, stay tuned.
Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see it.
All right. And that will wrap us up. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.